Shalom, my friends. We will say a few words about Parashat Vayetze. In this parasha, there is much to say, but again, we are limited with time. So what I choose to talk about is the children, the 12 tribes. In this parasha, we see how the 12 tribes of Israel were born to our mothers, Rachel and Leah. Most of the children came from Leah, and the rest came from the concubines of Zilpah and Bilhah, and finally from Rachel. Rachel and Leah, of course, are our mothers, but we give the same importance to Zilpah and Bilhah. They are considered like our mothers, but they cannot be true mothers. They are just concubines. So, let's go. In this parasha, we see that Yaakov, our father Jacob, went a long way. He left Beersheba, which is in the land of Eretz Israel, Eretz Canaan, and he went to Haran. He's not married yet. He went to Lavan. Lavan sees him, that's a member of the family, even though he was a crook by nature, but he demonstrated some kind of welcome to Yaakov. And then Yaakov Avinu met Rachel first. And the Torah testifies to the fact that Rachel was extremely beautiful. Rachel hayeta yefat to'ar v'tovat mar'eh. So Yaakov declared his desire to marry Rachel. Lavan says, okay, all you have to do is to work 7 years for me, and you get Rachel. Fine. Yaakov is willing to obey. Yaakov sees Rachel. He embraces her. He tells her he's the son of Rivka. And she went and she told her parents, it's our family, our cousin, Yaakov. Of course, she fell in love with him, no question about it. But Lavan came, and he also embraced Yaakov. And he says to him, "Vayomer lo Lavan, ach atzmi uvsari ata, you are my flesh and blood. Stay with me." Yaakov stayed 1 month, and then Lavan says to Yaakov, "I don't want you to work for me for free. Please, tell me, what is it that you want as a payment?" Lavan has 2 daughters. The old one is Leah, and the younger one is Rachel. The Torah describes something that is not the usual way of the Torah. Ve'enei Leah rakot. The eyes of Leah were small. Rachel, on the other hand, Rachel hayeta yefat to'ar v'yefat mar'eh, extremely beautiful. Our sages explain why is it that Leah was affected with her eyes. I mean, her eyes did not look as beautiful as the eyes of Rachel. I'm sure that Leah also was beautiful, but she was crying a lot. Why? Because she was promised to Esav. Knowing that Esav is not good for her, she was crying all the time and praying that she doesn't want to become the wife of Esav. In those times, it's the parents who count. The choice of the parents is what counts. Anyway, she kept on crying, and that's why it affected, crying so much affected her eyes. Yaakov says he wants Rachel. And well, Lavan says, of course, beautiful. I prefer to give Rachel to you than to give her to somebody else. Stay with me. All you have to do, Yaakov says, he's the one who says, "E'evodcha sheva shanim berachel bitecha haketana." I want to stay here. I will work for you in exchange for the hand of Rachel. Lavan agrees. And Yaakov worked for 7 years. He loved her so much. He loved Rachel so much. 7 years were for him a very quick time to pass, because he loved her very much. Now comes the time Yaakov wants his payment. Give me my wife. And Lavan prepared a big feast and everything. At night, in those times, it was all in the darkness. And Yaakov, thinking that he is spending the night with Leah, with Rachel, he wakes up in the morning. He sees that it is Leah. It's not Rachel. What happened? But I worked for Rachel. I didn't work for Leah. Lavan did it on purpose, as the Torah says, "Vayhi ba'erev," at night, "Vayikach et Leah bito," he took his daughter Leah, "Vayave ota elav," and he brought it to Yaakov. Of course, in the night, when he is already in bed, he doesn't see who she is, thinking that she is Rachel. At the same time, the Torah says, "Vayiten Lavan la et zilpa shivchato leLeah bito shivcha." The gift that Lavan gave to his daughter Leah is a servant, and her servant was Zilpa. She was the personal servant of Lavan, and he gave her to Leah. In the morning, "Vayi baboker, v'hinehi Leah," that's Leah. Oh my God, "Vayomer el Lavan, ma zot asita li, lama rimitani, halo berachel avati imach." Why did you do this to me? Why did you lie to me? I worked for Rachel, not for Leah. And Lavan says, "I'm sorry. Lo ye'aseh chen bimkomenu, in our place, we cannot give you the younger one first. You have to take the older one first." "Oh, you want to take Rachel also? No problem. Give another 7 years, Malle Shevua Azot, and we'll give you Rachel also." Of course, today, since the time the Torah was given at the mountain of Sinai, we are not allowed to take 2 sisters at the same time. 2 sisters are forbidden. Isha el achotah lo tikach litzror. The Torah says it's a commandment of the Torah. It's a negative commandment that one should not take 2 sisters. But before the Torah was given, that's the time of Yaakov Avinu, this was allowed. Bnei Noach, the children of Noach, were allowed to take 2 sisters. All right. Vayiten Laban lerachel bito, and then Yaakov spent another 7 years. Vaymaleh Shevua Azot, and then finally he gets his wife Rachel. Vayiten Lavan, and of course Lavan is giving a gift to his daughter Rachel, for her wedding, for her marriage. What? His personal servant Bilhah, to become the maid servant of Rachel. And now Yaakov has 2 wives, Rachel and Leah. And because he loved so much Rachel, on his own decision, Yaakov gave another 7 years. Altogether, that's 21 years working for Lavan. Now, let's go now to the situation between Leah and Rachel. 2 sisters. One willing to give her life for the other one. There was great love. There's much to say about it. The Talmud in Masechet Sanhedrin tells us many things about this, that practically Rachel practically sacrificed herself for Leah, and so forth. So Leah is the first one to give birth. She gives birth to a boy. Why is it that she was first? The Torah tells us, Vayar Hashem ki senu'a Leah. God sees that Leah is not liked very much. I mean, compared to Rachel, Yaakov loves Rachel more than Leah. That doesn't mean that he had no feelings for Leah. She was his wife, the mother of his children. But he loved very much Rachel. So that's considered like if Leah is hated. Vayar Hashem ki senu'a Leah. Therefore Hashem gave her a gift. She is the first one to give birth, while Rachel is remaining barren without any child so far. ותהר Leah ותלד בן. The first son of Leah is born. She calls him by the name Reuven. Why? What's the word Reuven? It means, literally it means, look, it's a boy. Reuven. Look, it's a son. But the Torah tells us another reason. כי אמירה, כי ראה השם בעוני, כי עתי אהבני אישי. Why is it that I am first to give birth? Because God, that's what Leah is saying, because God has saw what's going on in my heart. ראה השם בעוני, he saw that I am downtrodden. And now at least I am sure my husband is going to love me. כי עתי אהבני אישי. And what ensues is the following. ותהר עוד ותלד בן. She became pregnant immediately after, and she gave birth to a second boy. ותאמר, כי שמע השם כי שנואה אנוכי. She said, since God heard my voice saying that I am not desired, I am not liked, therefore God compensated me by giving me this son too. ותקרא שמו שמעון, and she called him Shimon, which brings the word lishmoa, the verb to hear, which means God heard her prayers. And then, for the third time, she becomes pregnant. ותלד בן, she gives birth to another boy. So what did she say? Knowing that she has to give a name, but it has to have a reason. Every name must have a reason. You cannot just throw a name from nowhere to a child. You have to choose. If you don't know, then ask someone, a chacham, a rabbi. Ask him. But don't throw names like they do today. It's so silly, because in the name of a person, that's where is his destiny. And by giving him a strange name, you are only making his life more difficult. So she gave birth to a third son, and she says, "Ata hapa'am ilave ishi elai." Now my husband will have to accompany me. I have 3 children. I need help. So my husband is going to have to walk with me. And that's why she called him Levi. Levi comes from the word lelavot, to accompany. And that's why she called him Levi. That's the famous tribe of Levi, the holy tribe, right? From where we have also the priests of Israel. Now she has three boys, but immediately after, she is pregnant, and she gives birth to a 4th boy. ותאמר הפעם אודה את השם. She said, now I have to say thank you to the Lord, because He gave me more than what I asked for. And על כן קראה שמו יהודה. That's why she called him Yehuda. Yehuda comes from the verb lehodot, to thank. To show gratefulness to God. Our sages said in the Gemara, in the Talmud, since the creation of the world, no one has expressed his thanks to the Lord, I would say, as much as Leah, when she got the fourth child, she called him Yehuda. She is the first one who taught us how to say thank you to Hashem, to God. Rachel is watching all this. She has no child. ותראה לאה, ותראה רחל כי לא ילדה ליעקב. Rachel, imagine what she felt. She is not capable of giving any child to Yaakov. ותקנא רחל באחותה. Jealousy is setting in the heart of Rachel. She comes furious to Yaakov, her husband. ותאמר אל יעקב, הבה לי בנים, ואם אין מתה אנוכי. She says to Yaakov, give me children, if not I am dead. By the way, our sages say in the Talmud, from this we understand if a person does not have any children, he's considered like dead. There are three people considered like dead. Ani, poor man, a childless person, considered dead. Because it's very simple to understand. That doesn't mean that the person, some great people had no children. The Lubavitcher Rebbe had no children. Why? Because he has thousands, not myriads of pupils, of students, and they are all considered his children. Other great rabbis also. Many rabbis maybe had only one, and many rabbis didn't have at all. That doesn't mean that they are considered like dead, only so to speak, because they don't have a continuation of their own. That's why the Torah considers them like dead. So let's continue. So Rachel says to Yaakov, give me children. This does not make sense. Who knows whose fault it is? Was she sure that it is the fault of Yaakov? Maybe it's her fault. She's the one that's barren. Yaakov gave birth. He had already children from Leah. So now Rachel says, you are capable of bringing children. So give me one. Give me children. If not, I am going to be considered dead. So what do you think happened? All this requires a lot of explanations. Maybe we can say that knowing the greatness of her husband Yaakov, then he can pray. Why is it that I have no children with him? Maybe my husband should pray and God listens to him. If he listens to him, then he is responsible. But Yaakov's reaction is quite, not strange, but reasonable. ויחר אף יעקב ברחל. Yaakov became furious at Rachel. And he says to her, התחת אלוהים אני? Why, you consider me like God? I'm not a God. אשר מנע ממך פרי בטן? It is God who prevented you from bringing children. What do you blame me for? But nevertheless, at least he was thinking about it. But ותאמר, הנה אמתי בלהה. So Rachel said, she didn't come for nothing. She knew that Yaakov has capabilities. So she said, I want children. If it's not from me, let it be from my own servant. In those times it was plausible. So she said to him, to Yaakov, הנה אמתי בלהה. Here is my maid servant Bilha, bo eleha, come with her, and she shall give birth upon my knees. ותלד על ברכיה. ויבנה גם אנוכי ממנה. And I shall be built through her. Now that's a way that in the old time it was possible. ותיתן לו את בלהה שפחתה. So she gave to Yaakov, her husband, she gave him her personal servant Bilha. And Yaakov, of course, considering her like his wife, even though she was just a concubine, but nevertheless, in those times, to get married was not as difficult as today. In those times, like the Rambam Maimonides says in Ilchot Ishud, that in the old time, when people met and decided to get married, all he has to do is to give her something, and there's no requirement of any of rabbi or witnesses or anything. Give her something, and she agrees, she becomes your wife. That's it. So Yaakov also now is with Bilha, And Bilhah becomes pregnant and she gives birth to a boy. Rachel considers herself like if it is her own boy. That's what she said. Vatomer Rachel danani Elohim. Rachel said, God has judged me, maybe harshly. But at the end, v'gam shama bekoli. Nevertheless, he heard my prayer. At least I can be rebuilt through the boy that my maidservant gave. Vayten li ben. So God gave me a son anyway. He judged me. So she gave him a name in accordance with that. She called him Dan. So let's remember, Dan is the first child of Bilhah, the servant of Rachel, considered like the child of Rachel. Dan means the judge. And the Torah tells us that Bilhah again becomes pregnant for the second time. Vatelet Bilhah shifhat Rachel ben sheni leYaakov. Bilhah, the maidservant of Rachel, gave a second boy to Yaakov. But Tomer Rachel, since this boy belongs to her, she is the boss. So she said, Vatomer Rachel, Naftule Elohim niftalti. Im achoti gam yacholti. She says, God put me in such a situation. The word niftalti is not very much used in Hebrew, but it means prayers. It means naftule Elohim from the word tefillah. That I pray to God, and this is between me and my sister Leah. So therefore she gave the name to the second son that was born to Bilhah. She gave him the name Naphtali, from that which we explained, that the prayers, or there are other explanations to the word Naphtali, but it could mean also the hardship. It could mean also all kinds of turbulences. That's what it means, and that she called him Naphtali. So Naphtali, remember, is the second boy of Bilhah, belonging, of course, to Rachel. Now what happens? Leah is looking, she says, well, what's happening, guys? I'm not getting pregnant anymore. She stopped. But so what did she do? Following the example of Rachel, she took her personal maidservant, known as Zilpah, and she gave Zilpah to Yaakov to become his wife. Knowing again the same consideration that if she gives birth, that would belong to Leah also, like if she had another son. Vatelet Zilpah shifchat Leah ben, and then Zilpah gave birth to a boy. Vatomer Leah bagad, vatikra et shemo Gad. Now, and then Leah said the word bagad. Now, this can be interpreted as bagad means that you it's a kind. Our sages explain that bagads come from the word ba gad, and that means based on a certain pasuk in Yeshaya. You could check Rashi, and he brings the matter, and he says God is mazal, is good luck. So Leah considers that this another son from Zilpah, and that's good luck. But Tikra Shemo Gad, and she called him God, which means Mazal Tov, so good luck. And then Zilpah, Vatelet Zilpah Shifchad Leah, Ben Sheni Yaakov. She becomes pregnant, Zilpah, the maidservant of Leah, and she bore a second boy to Yaakov. Leah is happy. Now she has already 6. Together with Bilhah, with Zilpah. But Tomer Leah be'oshri, I'm so happy, Leah says. Me'ushar, in Hebrew, me'ushar means very happy. Yisheruni banot, I am luckier than all the girls. But tikra et shemo Asher. And she called this boy Asher. So we remember that Asher is the second boy of Zilpah, the maidservant of Leah. Now what's going on? The Torah tells us, I am about to conclude, Leah meets Rachel. she harvested some plant that we call dudaim, and there was a belief that those dudaim, if administered to a woman, she can become pregnant. Okay? Rachel, when she saw that Leah, her sister, is coming with those dudaim, she asked her, please give me of those dudaim. She wants to be pregnant again. So Leah says to her, "Hama'at kahtech et ishi." But Rachel, it's true that I have more children than you, but my husband is not with me. He's most of the time with you. You have taken my husband. Now you want to take also those plants that I have harvested? ותאמר רחל לכן ישכב עמך בלילה הוא תחת דודאי בנך. Rachel says to Leah, I will pay you. The payment is, take my husband, spend with him the night. You have to understand that the stories of the Torah are to be learned in a much deeper way. What we tell you is only the superficie, what seems to be the situation. ויבוא יעקב מן השדה בערב. At night, Yaakov comes back from the field, and he sees Leah. And Leah tells him, you have to be with me because that's a payment of Rachel for exchanging with her my dudaim. וישכב עמה בלילה הוא. And Yaakov spent the night with her. וישמע אלוהים אל לאה. At that time, Leah all the time was praying to God. She wants to have more children. So God heard her prayers. ותהר ותלד ליעקב בן חמישי. She became pregnant and she gave birth a fifth boy to Yaakov. That's besides, of course, the two other boys that were from Zilpah. But personally from Leah, 5 children already. So Leah must have a reaction of gratitude. So she says, ותאמר לאה נתן אלוהים שכרי, אשר נתתי שפחתי לאישי. Oh, God has paid me, has rewarded me, because I have given my maidservant to my husband. Therefore, ותקרא שמו יששכר. So she called him Yissachar, from the word sachar. Sachar means reward. God rewarded me, so I am going to call him according to that. All this is teaching us how careful we have to be when we give a name to the child. Based on the situation, you have to analyze the situation, and it's better to ask from a big rabbi what name to give. Well, usually giving the name of the grandparents or even the parents, depending on the custom, it's very good. Also, if you give names of a few of the animals, like Ze'ev, the wolf, or like Dov, the bear, or like Aryeh, the lion, that's fine. It extends life. And also, if you give names of some of the angels, Gabriel, Raphael, Michael, and even Uriel. Those are the 4 angels that we are allowed to give as their names to our children. It's fine. If not, if you don't have any of those ones, then you have to find a rabbi or someone to counsel you the proper way and to give you a good name. But once it comes from the mouth, that's the name you have to take. And besides, don't give names that belong to other nations. Unfortunately today, what can we say? But Tahar od Leah. Leah now is becoming pregnant again. But Teled ben Shishi Yaakov, and she gives birth to a 6th child to Yaakov. But Tomer Leah, Zevadani Elohim, Oti Zevetov. Oh God, He gave me such consideration. He gave me such attention. What a wonderful gift. A gift here is known as Zeved. Zevadani Elohim Oti Zevetov. He gave me such a gift. Hapa'am Izbeleni Ishi. Now let my husband make his permanent home with me. That's called Zevul. Izbeleni. The word Zevul, which pertains to the house of God, Bet HaMikdash, is going to become now, she used that name to say that now the permanent home of Yaakov is going to be with me. I have given him so many children. Ki alati lo shisha banim. I have given birth to 6 children besides, of course, besides the child that was given by Zilpah. You understand? So altogether, that is 6 sons besides what the 2 children that were given to her by Zilpah. So that's something extraordinary, right? Ve'achar yalda bat. Then the Torah says she became pregnant again, Leah, but this time instead of giving birth to a boy, she gave birth to a girl, and she called her Dina. Vatikra Shema Dina. Also from the word din, that means God has judged favorably. He judged me favorably, and He gave me a daughter, and her name is Dina. What about Rachel now? It seems to be that she is forgotten. No, the Torah says, "Vayizkor Elohim et Rachel," and God remembered Rachel. Vayishma eleha Elohim, and finally He heard her voice. And vayiftach et rachmaha, and He opened her womb. Okay, for the first time she is going to give birth, because before all the children that she has is only from her maid servant Bilhah. What about her? Vatahar vatelet ben, vatomer asaf Elohim cherpati. She said, and now she became pregnant, and she gave birth to a boy, and she said finally, asaf Elohim et cherpati. I was so inferior, and now God has elevated me, and He took away from me my shame. But tikra et shemo Yosef. Since she said Asaf, God gathered from me my inferiority, my shame, as you wish. But therefore she gave her son a name that is taken from the word Asaf. She didn't call him Asaf, she called him rather Yosef. That's the famous Yosef, the son of Yaakov, Yosef HaTzadik, the righteous. But tikra et shemo Yosef lemor. And why did she call him also Yosef? Besides the fact that it stems from the word Asaf, that God gathered, she said also it's a kind of prayer. Yosef means, may He give me an additional one. Yosef li Hashem ben acher. I hope may God give me an additional boy. The second one. Well, when Yosef was born, the Torah says that Yaakov says to Laban, I want to leave you. I want to go to my place, to go back to the land of Canaan. So give me my wives, my children that I have worked for you. I have worked for you for such a long time. Now you have to let me go. Laban consented, and he says, in fact, thank you very much, Yaakov, because bless me, because I know that God has blessed me for having you with me for such a long time. The story goes that Laban goes after them, that Rachel, she hid all the idols of her father Laban, and then they left with Yaakov, they left with whatever Hashem gave them, and finally we know what's going to be later on. We are going to read in the next parashiot that Rachel gave birth to another boy, and that she called him Binyamin at the time when she passed away during the time when she was giving birth. So altogether we have 12 tribes, and the 12 tribes are what we are today. Of course, unfortunately, after King Solomon and after some of the other kings, in the time of Yerovam ben Nevat, who was the king of Ephraim, after the division, unfortunately, between Yehuda and Israel, I mean the country of Yehuda, that's where King David and King Solomon and King Chizkiah, versus the King Yerovam, who was the king of 10 tribes. So, unfortunately, even before the destruction of the first temple, the dispersion of the 10 tribes by Nebuchadnezzar and by Nebuzaradan, and we know that they disappeared from us. Does that mean that we will never recover them? No. There is a belief that we will see them again when the Mashiach comes. When Eliyahu Navi will come, he will discover who belongs to the tribe of Ephraim and the other tribes. While right now, today, we have only the tribe of Yehuda and Binyamin. And that's all. Soon it will be, we will be regaining again our complete list of all the tribes of Israel. Be'ezrat Hashem, hopefully in our days. B'mehera b'yameinu. Amen.